What is up, you guys? I'm Fresh Cut Slim, and today I'm going to be reacting to Animation Before Computers by The Odd Ones Out. Now, I haven't reacted to an Odd Ones Out video in a long time. And yeah, I'm excited to see what James has been up to since I last popped by. But yeah, with that being said, the original link's in the description. If you're new, subscribe, and let's begin. Alright, so I am trying a new way of recording, as a side note. This way, I have my audio and my desktop audio on different audio tracks. That way I can kind of move them up and down so you can kind of hear me talk while I'm, or while the video is playing, if I do talk while the video is playing. I've been trying to experiment with that. I've been having some issues, so I'm hoping this works fine.
When you're watching any animated piece of media, I think it's easy to forget that you're watching drawings move.
My Little Pony?
Excuse me? What kind of Harry Potter dark magic is this? Since when did drawings move? I drew a picture of a dog once, but it hasn't moved at all.
This is why they called, side note, this is why they called movies moving pictures, like back in the early, 1900s? You know, when movies first came around, they didn't know that as movies, they were just pictures that moved, so they're called moving pictures. Right? It's the same kind of idea.
Not even to play fetch. Well, what you're really watching isn't actually moving. What you're really watching is a series of individual frames played at a rapid speed on a liquid crystal display screen that emit photons into your eyeball receptors that get processed by your brain into what it perceives as movement. It was all a trickery, you see.
I freaking fooled you, son. I freaking fooled you. Boom.
A ruse that you fell for hook, line, and sinker. Now, a lot of you probably already know about the concept of the frame rate, but what I want you to understand is that in cartoons, every head turn,
It's someone drawing it. That's why I say that 3D animation is a lot easier once you know how to do it, because you don't have to draw every single frame. You have to draw the objects and you got to animate it by just turning the heads and whatnot, but you're not sitting there drawing every frame.
every blink, everything that happens had to be meticulously drawn by a person who studied anatomy and knows about physics and movement, knowing full well that their drawing was only going to be seen for a fraction of a second. And you weren't even watching. You were on your phone. Today, I would like to turn
I wasn't, I swear, I wasn't.
back the sands of time and talk about some of the ways animators were able to achieve the illusion of life without the help of modern technology. I hope by
Disney is great at this. I saw some documentary where Disney, maybe it wasn't a documentary, it was like a video, but Disney shows how they did like the zoom in, but they have like all these different layers that they did on some old-timey camera.
watching, you can better understand and appreciate the medium of animation as much as I do, because the amount of dedication and hard work that goes into just making drawings move is unreal. And if you're like me and already know a bit about animation history and find this kind of stuff fascinating, don't worry, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up.
Hey, wait, hold on now. You see this right here? I forget what this is called, but I was literally watching that last night at a friend's place.
Animation history and find this kind of stuff fascinating, don't worry, I didn't have a
That's an amazing animation. The animation, it's also made in like the 80s, I think. It's crazy.
lot of friends growing up either. Now, we know that animation is just copious amounts of drawings being shown in rapid succession. But how the f are we going to get people to look at copious amounts of drawings in rapid succession without a computer? Well, believe it or not, there's actually quite a few things we can do without even having to use a camera. One method we can try is by drawing out all of our frames on a stack of paper. I know that's the time-consuming part, but after we're done doing that, we'll hang up all our drawings side by side on a very long wall. Then we'll ride a bike next to the wall and continuously have our head turned facing the wall, and if we pedal
Seems safe.
fast enough, we'll zip by the drawing so fast that it'll look
Holy crap. I gotta use that as the thumbnail. That's crazy.
like they're moving. Hey, look! It's a horse! Okay, you're probably thinking, that's not how animation is made. And you're right. This method of animation is totally impractical, but not impossible. This type of human transportational animation has been done before.
Hey, he just freaking gave us a freaking, he just showed his butt right there, boys. James, put some freaking pants on.
4 in subway tunnels, with the results looking pretty legit. I mean, this minion looks like he's totally moving. I might as well be in the cinema. And for those of the gamer variety, YouTuber Pale of Pears was able to achieve this method of animation flawlessly in Minecraft. But if you wanted to do something more practical, you could instead take your drawings off the really long wall and then stack them up like a book and then just flip through the paper
I remember doing that when I was a kid. I'm sure a lot of people did. Where you just draw like stick figures or whatever and you can make animations.
quickly, making a flip book. If you have some sticky notes lying around that you forgot about in a
Oh, you should have put something in there that would have been like, maybe he did. You put something in here that kind of makes people say, what the frig?
junk drawer somewhere, you could make a pretty simple ball bouncing animation really quickly.
Yeah,
With the
I remember
results
doing this kind of
being, you know, kind of cool. A fun fact, this type of animation was featured in every single copy of the Animorphs books, which I never read. I would just flip through the pages and watch the children in the corner transform into elephants and starfish and this weird
Oh, it's really cool. Imagine someone buys their book just for that, not actually to read what they wrote.
blue alien centaur thing. And what the heck was going on in these books, man? Okay, this next method of showing people drawings in rapid succession is going to be a little bit crazy. I don't want to freak you out, but it's basically on the same level
I've seen this before. Isn't this like a circular thing that's like from like a long friggin' time ago?
as rocket science, okay? We're going to have to jump up a whole dimension for this one. What you're going to do is sculpt out a 3-dimensional figure of whatever you want to animate. Let's animate, I don't know, this guy jumping. So first, I'm going to sculpt my guy just standing there, just being a dude. This
This has to be made in like Blender or something. If not, I mean, it'd probably be easier to make this in Blender than hand draw.
will be frame 1. Now, okay, I know some of you are probably thinking, oh, I see where this is going. You're gonna take a picture of the sculpture, then change its pose slightly, take a picture of that, and then slightly change the pose over and over while continuously starting and stopping the camera, making
Is this called claymations? Like, I forget the actual name of it, but a lot of clay animations use this.
it seem like our subject has some sort of motion. No, actually, we're not going to be doing any of that. Cameras haven't been invented yet in this hypothetical. What we're doing instead is making a whole new sculpture that will be the next frame of our animation. So it'll be our guy again, bending his legs a little bit, getting ready for
Oh,
the
it's
jump.
so much more work having
Alright,
to make a
neat. That's
sculpture for
frame
each
2.
frame.
Now let's do this a total of, I don't know, 16 times? That sounds good. Let's also make the 16th sculpture look like it came before the first sculpture. So you understand, it's going to go from the 16th
It's a perfect
sculpture
loop.
back to the first one. It's a loop, like a tick-tock. We're doing a tick-tock loop. Now we're going to take all 16 of our sculptures and space them out evenly on a round table. Sorry, Arthur, I'm going to need this. Now, make the table spin. That's on you to figure
Now, you have to bet if you want it on black or red.
out how to do. I don't know. Maybe get the bike guy from the first example to pedal or something. I doubt any of you are actually following along, but if you are, put all your sculptures on a spinning table.
This is literally, I think, a tool or some kind of game or something. I've seen it before, where it was a horse on something like this, where you spin it and it shows it animated. And it's from like a long time ago.
Right now. And make it quick, all right? I'm not going to wait for you. And now, for the final step, turn your lights on and off really quickly. And if we did everything right, the effect we get is mesmerizing.
That's very cool. Look at that. I've seen that one before. This I've never seen. That's a bit trippy. Oh, that's really trippy.
What's happening is that the light shines at the first sculpture, and then we turn the lights off. Cool.
But those videos you showed didn't have the light flickering, did it?
Then, as the table spins, the light will turn back on when the second sculpture is in the same position as the first. So we turn the lights on when the sculptures are in the same spot, and we turn them off when they're not. And what we end up seeing is all of our figures standing in a circle performing the animation, and we don't even register that the whole thing is spinning. And congratulations, you all know.
Yeah, but see, if you look at these ones here, they're also doing the same action. So you don't necessarily need to have the light on, because I think it's more about where your eyes are focused that you'll see the animation take place, such as those videos that he had just shown.
Hell no, man.
What a zoetrope is now, which I know is a pretty fun word that you can whip out at parties like, yeah, I know a unique word that starts with the letter Z that isn't xylophone. Another fun
don't go
thing
to
about
parties.
the zoetrope was that a 3D rendering of one was featured in the Season 2 opening of Mob Psycho 100. So that's what that spinning thing in the intro was. It was a zoetrope. Zoetrope. Okay, let's talk about one more way we can show
Okay.
people drawings in quick succession without a camera, and it's the easiest method by far. So, all we need is this glitchy, abstract drawing like this. Huh, pretty cool and random, right?
What? So you gotta like twist it or something, and then the way that your eyes look at it, you'll see a different image. Kind of like those like baseball playing cards or playing cards that had you could do this, like turn it back and forth, and you'll have different images.
Except it's not. It's not random at all. I lied. Every line here is placed very deliberately.
That's a creepy
Let me show you
face.
something. If we take this floppy, transparent sheet full of vertical bars and cover up most of the drawing, hey, look at that. The outline we end up seeing looks like one of them kitty cats.
Oh, that's cool. That's not what I was expecting.
Now, if we slide the transparent sheet over and reveal different parts of the drawing, it looks like a kitty cat but in a different position. And if we keep sliding this sheet over, revealing different parts of the drawing, look at him go! This is called a barrier grid animation, and with
Yeah,
the right
baby.
base
Woo!
drawing, you can make all sorts of animations that don't hurt to look at all. And also, I just want to point out,
But it seems like that's so time consuming trying to figure out how that would work. Like you'd think that'd have to be done only on a computer or something. Just because if you have to know where each like slit has to go or whatever. I don't know. It seems like it'd take a lot more time than some of the other ones. Or a lot more thinking at least.
that a barrier grid animation was also featured in the Season 2 opening of Mob Psycho 100. Hey, do you guys want to watch anime later? So all these different
I was gonna say, it sounds like he watches a lot of anime.
methods of showing people drawings in quick succession. I don't know if there's a word for it, but I'm calling it physical animation. Like animation you can hold and touch with your fingers, you know? All those warrior cat animation memes, that's digital animation, right? This is physical. It's the real deal. But there's one form of physical animation that we haven't talked about yet that's unarguably the most popular and the most important form of physical animation to have ever existed on Earth. Excuse me. Okay, now we're gonna use cameras. Okay, they finally figured it out. With
What could it be? Like he's still talking about physical, so it's not claymation. They already covered that though, right? I don't know.
the invention of film, showing people multiple images in quick succession had never been easier. Now we can take something from real life, burn an image of that
Dang, look at those cheeks. Dang, son. Dang, son.
Bruh.
into a film strip, process it, and then shine a light through it again to get a recreation of the image.
This is just a movie. This is just like what movies do.
And if we roll this whole strip of film over this strobe light, we get moving pictures.
Yeah, this is literally it.
That's why they're called movies, because they move. What the fuck? A lot of times,
I don't get movies. I don't get what you just said there. That's why they're called movies. That doesn't make sense because they used to call them moving pictures. That makes sense because that's what it is. But where did movies come from? How did moving pictures turn into movies? I don't know.
this film was used to capture the movements of real people, but it was also used in the same way to capture the movements of people of the animated variety. Let's take a look at an old cartoon. The 1968 animated Batman series. The first time Batman has ever appeared in the animation
68? That's freaking so old. I didn't know they were making them back then, like that far.
form. You know,
Actually, wait a minute. I can't say that because there's that Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie, which is like from the 1920s or something.
the really old Batman cartoon that had onomatopoeias appear on the screen during fight scenes? Boom! Pow! Ka-chow! Except they didn't. They didn't do that in the cartoon. Visually showing the verbiage of impacts was exclusively an Adam West thing. In the cartoon, you gotta see those impacts. Hey, can I ask you a thought-provoking question?
Go ahead.
What the f am I looking at? I know it's Batman high-kicking a goon, but how is it moving? This frame was captured on film, so there had to be a physical camera to capture it, right?
What do you mean? How's it moving? I'm confused.
So where is this drawing? It's not on a computer. Computers in the 60s looked like this. So where is this? So every animated...
It would be like the Walt Disney stuff, right? Where it's literally like literally just a picture. You would have like a bunch of them, and then you take a picture of that. I think that's how they did it.
Movie and animated TV show and animated anime before the year 2000-ish used what's called cell animation. This frame of Batman was hand painted.
Yeah, that's like the Disney video that I saw. It was them doing this, where it's hand painted stuff, and they'd have different layers of it.
That's right, painted with special paint onto a transparent celluloid sheet, or cell. And then this transparent sheet was laid on top of a hand-painted background, and then this goon that got kicked, well, he had to be painted on his own cell sheet too, and then this image of sandwiched art was captured onto a film thing, a strip.
Like, how long would this have taken to do? This is even longer than 2D animation on your computer. Because you have to paint it all, and then you have to layer it all like this.
Then the Batman cell would come off and be replaced by a whole new hand-painted cell of Batman, and then that frame would be captured, and then the whole process would repeat again and again until the shot was done. This one shot that lasted a little over a second used 14 different hand-painted drawings of Batman, and the goon had 6 just for a second.
So it's a 14 FPS? I mean, that's not that bad, I guess. I mean, it's not great. Oh, wait a minute. What am I saying? That is bad because your average is 30. Like this video you're watching now, I'm recording at 30. So 14 is half of that. But in those older animations, it didn't really look that bad though. It didn't look like it was 14 FPS. It looked like it was a lot higher.
Now, because having to hand paint 20 different images for 1 second is insane, there are some things we can do to cut corners without having to sacrifice too much quality. Like in this shot, Robin takes 5 frames to turn his head, but his body doesn't move, so we can paint his body once on its own cell, and now we only need to paint
Yeah, then you just layer it.
5 different heads. And since we already have all the frames painted, we can just use the same frames in reverse to make his head turn the other way. And you don't need to pay a background artist to paint a background if you just use blue. A big part of cell animation was being able to animate pieces of a character
If you just use blue?
independently of each other. That's actually why so many old cartoon characters had accessories around their necks, so the animators could separate the characters' heads from their bodies, making it
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. It makes sense. Because I knew they layered it. But yeah, to hide the joints, putting something around their neck, that's brilliant.
easier to animate. Fred wasn't rocking that ascot just because it was trendy. One of the nice things about using a computer to animate is that you can play back what you've animated and clearly see if your timing is correct and if there's any quick adjustments you can make. Being able to see what your previous frames are is so important. There's
Yeah, it's called onion layering.
actually a term for it called onion skinning.
Close enough.
But animators pre-2K didn't have computers to rewatch their work, so here's what they did instead. Before they even put paint onto a cell, they first had to draw all their frames out onto a piece of paper, and they didn't work on the frames in chronological order. Like, they didn't go, okay, I just drew the first frame of Batman, okay, here's the second frame of Batman.
They didn't do that? But how would they know? What?
Okay, I'm gonna go do the third frame of Batman. Okay, you do the fourth frame though. That way of animating is called straight ahead animation, and some people use it, but the results look pretty chaotic, but it's still used pretty effectively for effects and concert visuals. But most of the time, animators will animate a character from pose to pose.
Yeah, isn't that what he meant though? I don't understand. Because normally you'd take your first animation or whatever you drew, and then you would kind of use that as a reference when you're drawing your second one. That's what pose to pose is, I'm pretty sure, right? Then what the frig is the first one he's talking about?
They'll draw out all the important key poses a character will make on paper, and then they'll hold the pieces of paper between each of their
Oh, maybe I'm wrong there.
fingers and then quickly flip between their drawings just to get an idea of what a drawing that goes in
Oh, that's really cool. So you'd have the two of them, and then you gotta draw the ones that go in between?
between those key poses would look like. That's called in-betweening, just so you know. And they still wouldn't be able to get a full
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
playback of their animation until every pencil drawing was captured on film and processed. They just had to trust their page flipping technique and their highly trained eyeballs and go, yeah, that looks about right. Let's bring out the paint. And because there are hundreds of shots all having to be animated without a computer, can you really blame the animators that some shots of Batman looked like this? Or this?
You wanna know how I got this friggin' chiseled jaw?
It was old, remember? Old things are bad. Okay, I kind of have a secret. Remember when I said, let's look at an old cartoon? Well, I might have overemphasized how old the Batman cartoon is.
So it's not from the 60s. I'd say it looks like it's from the 70s.
By
or
the
80s.
time the Batman cartoon came out, the movie Bambi had been out for 25 years. And are you aware?
When did Bambi come out? I don't know, but that's crazy. So it looks like the Batman came before this because the animation is a lot like worse quality. So Disney really did a good job then.
Aware of how f***ing fluid the animation in Bambi is?
Yeah, Bambi looks amazing. So that shows you, I guess that kind of shows the effort in the Batman, which that still would have taken a long time and for Batman regardless. But Disney, really are at the top for animation.
Dude, Bambi goes so f***ing hard. Walt literally brought in deer from the f***ing woods into
What?
their studio just so the animators could be like, oh, that's neat. That's how deers move. I understand this more now. What the f***?
I don't think if Peter was around back then, I don't think they'd be too happy about that.
I honestly thought the Batman show came out way earlier in the animation timeline because of how it looked.
That's what I'm saying.
Obviously, these two things were created by different studios with different animators
And different animation budgets.
and different budgets,
Yeah.
and TV animation always has to create more animation per budget, but all the same techniques and equipment used to make an episode of Batman were the exact same techniques and equipment used to make an
Look at just the quality difference.
episode of Bambi. I don't mean that as a dunk on Batman. I'm more so impressed with how amazing Bambi looks, especially since while it came out, World War II was currently happening.
What? It's from like the 40s? I didn't know that. Shut up. I didn't know that. That's crazy. It's from the 40s. Or late 40s.
So because celluloid sheets were used to animate every
This is what I've seen before.
TV show, movie, and anime there has ever been before the year 2000-ish, by my calculations, there are millions of cell sheets out there. Like this single frame of Batman kicking, it's on a cell sheet somewhere. And more importantly, who owns it?
Wouldn't it be the studio? Because, yeah, it has to be the studio, whoever made it, right?
Many of the cells that still exist have been sold to the general public. But because of how the paint
Really?
and time works, cell sheets need to be kept very well preserved. So since cells are very hard to preserve, and because they're not making any new ones, some cells are worth a lot of money. This cell and original background from My Neighbor Totoro
84,000, is that real?
sold for $84,000. While I'm writing the script, there's currently an auction going on for this cell from the Jungle Book for $10,000. And I own this cell of Squidward laughing that I got at a convention for $300.
I guess that shows you the difference in the age that age has on value. Like what the $84,000? Also, don't the studios own these cells, right? You could say, oh, the animator does, but if they're being paid to do that or to make the animation or whatever by the studio, I'm pretty sure is the one who owns those cells. So, are people just stealing the cells and selling them to the public?
It's not an original background. The background's a print, and it's actually not even the correct background for the shot. I'm just pointing out that not all cells are thousands of dollars. You know, they made millions of these, so you can get a cell from a TV show for a couple hundred, and then you get to own a frame of animation that belongs to you now. which I think is super cool. This moment of Squidward laughing belongs to me. And
If you want it so much, just get it in an NFT.
you can't have it. So if you ever visit some friends
Sounds like an NFT owner. Watch me screenshot it. Watch me screenshot it.
who really like cartoons, there's a good chance that they have an animation cell somewhere on display. And those are just a handful of ways that animators were able to achieve the illusion of life without a computer. And I do just want to say, just because something was animated on a computer doesn't make it any less artistic.
No, it makes it a little bit easier, right? But it's not. It's the same amount of artisticness that would have gone into it, you know, if computers didn't exist. It just makes it a little bit easier to do it.
Yes, computers make the process easier and more streamlined, absolutely. It's still a human expressing their creativity and being in control of that. Did you hear me? It's a human expressing themselves and being
Is this all AI art here?
in control creatively. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about animation history. There's still quite
I think this is a really cool video. There's a lot of stuff I didn't learn. Oh my gosh. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know that I learned.
few things that I didn't get to cover, like how did Walt animate this panning, parallaxing shot of Bambi where the trees move on separate layers?
This, I believe, is actually patented by them. It's a certain way of filming it. I saw this saw that recently, like a month or so ago. But how they had a way that they would like move something over top of it. I don't actually know all the details, but I'm pretty sure this is what I saw.
What kind of technology did they create to make
What kind of
trees
black
move at
magic's
different
that?
speeds? So much
kind of
hard
black
work and
magic's
talent is
that?
involved in every piece of animation we see. And because of animation, we're able to tell incredible stories that are nothing like anything we ever see in our day-to-day lives. And before I go, can we talk about the intro to the Batman series, please? Oh my god.
Yeah, this is like clearly before epileptic issues were an issue or mainstream problem, because you could not be getting away with
The Batman
This.
series, please.
you
Oh
could
my
not,
god.
you could not be getting away with this nowadays. That's gonna freaking cause some people, you know, some problems. Anyway, hope you guys like this video. I think this is really cool. I learned a lot. It's definitely not the funniest, but it was definitely cool and charming. I love the animation style that James uses, and that's crazy that Batman video came out 20 years after the Disney one. But I'm pretty sure Disney didn't make the Batman, and Disney had probably a huge budget where the Batman animators probably did not, so you got to do it in a rush. But yeah, regardless, you know, they're both charming in their own way. Anyway, hope you guys like this video. I think I'd rate this out of a 10. I'd have to say 7. And yeah, with that being said, the original link's in the description. I'll see you guys next time.